Hi everyone, it's Simon Keeling here on Wednesday the 2nd of April. Thanks again for watching weatherweb.net. And the weather in the news again today because of the dust and the poor air quality that's across much of the country. This is the chart from the University of Athens, and it shows the total dust load in the atmosphere at midday today. And you can see here, look, how it was forecasting Scotland, much of England, much of Wales, as well as much of central parts of Europe to see quite a bit of dust in the atmosphere during the course of today. And of course, as it's rained out in more western areas today, that's where we've seen dust deposited on cars and just about anything else that's outside. Now, if we look at the dust concentration forecasts, this is valid for midnight tonight. And again, you can see here, look, how we've got those orange colours across the UK indicating that there'll be further dust around during the course of tonight. If we just knock on, that's 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, this is midday on Thursday. And again, look, you notice here how much of the UK is again under the influence of that dust, and as it rains, then it brings the dust down to low levels, and that's what we feel for those with respiratory problems. That's what causes the problems. It just adds to the problem out there at the moment of hay fever and of the other pollutants that are in the atmosphere. That's 6 o'clock on Thursday evening, and then that's overnight into Friday, and this is Friday morning. But then by Friday afternoon, look, this is as southwesterly winds set in, so we find that dust being moved away. And it's just interesting actually to look at these charts and to see where dust normally is. And what we normally have is a flow coming off Africa across the Atlantic that blows the dust across the Atlantic. You can see there the region marked on here with those yellower oranger colours of where the dust normally travels. But because we've got the southeasterly winds coming up through the country at the moment, it's managing to pick up quite a bit of this dust and get it in the right conditions suspended in the atmosphere, which is then bringing it into the UK. Hence the reason that we have the problems that we do at the moment. Incidentally, there's other pollutants up there as well, and one of the biggest pollutants are actually diesel cars. But all cars still cause pollution, even though you probably hear people say, oh, the air coming out is cleaner than the air going in. It's not. We still get particulates coming out. So, I mean, if you've got two cars, why not try using one? Well, you can only drive one at a time anyway, can't you? But you know what I mean. Why not just try using one tomorrow? That's what we've done. Obviously, it's not practical for everybody. Or perhaps just walk, you know, instead of drive the car if the journey's practical for you. I think what this probably has done is brought home to us the problem that we do have with air pollution. Obviously, normally it's invisible, but because of the dust, it's made it visible, and you can see it in the haze. But this is actually a growing problem now, one of air pollution in the UK, and the dust particles. Somebody was telling me, a scientist who works on pollution was telling me about the size of the dust particles coming out of diesel cars when you're walking down the side of the road, particularly if you're a young child, sort of 5 or 6, that sort of height. If one of those particles gets into your lungs, that can cause some real serious problems. So it was just interesting to hear that. It kind of makes you aware more, doesn't it, of the situation. Of course, we all drive, don't we? Or most of us drive, so we're not just going to give up cars and go back to horses. But it just makes you wonder, well, should we be driving quite as much as we should? Anyway, that's a discussion, isn't it, for another day. Let's get back to the weather. Anyway, this is the chart for midnight last night, and if I can just get that back up again, there we are. So this is a chart for midnight last night. It was the analysis chart from the ECMWF showing us this trough in the Atlantic, look, but this ridge building across central parts of Europe there. If we just knock it on and go in 24-hour steps, notice how that trough comes into the Mediterranean and gets cut off down here. That then enables the ridge to pump back northwards again and to build once again heading into the early part of next week. And look, there is that ridge. I'll keep doing that, don't I? Sorry. There is the ridge through there. Look, and there's the cut-off cold pool, the low down there in the Mediterranean. But this warm air continuing to pump northwards, which just builds the ridge all the time here. Coming in behind it, tries to get a trough going in here. And as we go on through, you'll notice how that ridge just continues to be in place. And this trough keeps trying to cool off this western part of the ridge. And it really just causes a zone of enhanced differences in temperature there, temperature gradient, and that produces the potential for some fairly hefty bursts of rain heading into next Monday. But indications are that, next Sunday, indications are that by sort of Monday, Tuesday time, we're seeing that trough manage to break through. But by then it's a weakening feature. And again, look, you see the ridge building back in, warm air again pumping north, yet another trough coming out from the States here, trying to get across and cut into this ridge, but at the moment just not showing many signs of doing so. In fact, what it does is a portion of it gets cut off, stuck south of the Azores, cuts off our high log into the middle to the end part of next week, bringing drier and warmer weather according to the ECMWF, and incidentally to other models as well. And that takes us forward, look, into the end of next week. What we need to watch out for though is we've still got, look, there's that cut-off, but we still do have troughs moving up to the north. So what we have to watch out for is the idea of that trough getting hooked up, bringing itself across the UK and across the western parts of Europe, and then another portion of this break-off getting into the Mediterranean, and then high pressure building back through the UK. At the moment, I don't see that going. I think the way that the models are handling things just at the moment is probably looking fairly reasonable, and there is agreements of sorts between the various different models. This is the ECMWF on the left here, and we've got the GFS on the right. You'll be familiar with these charts. These are the 7 to 10 day means. And what the ECMWF is trying to show is the ridge building in the Atlantic. Look, there's the trough into the Azores, and then it builds this compensatory ridge during this period, which is from next Wednesday to the following Saturday. So it builds that ridge, look, back in across western parts of Europe. Now what the GFS does is it makes much more of the ridge in the Atlantic and more of the ridge down through Europe, but it still has this cut-off feature down here, but really does cut it off properly, and doesn't hook it up with any further trough up here down towards the north. It really does cut it off properly and builds pressure across the country. So what can we take from that? Well, it does look as if pressure just tried to build during next week, so probably bringing us some drier and some warmer weather. The things that we have to watch out for is that trough coming in, perhaps bringing some rain into the south. But I think what we can say is during next week we are going to see some dry weather, particularly the middle to the end of next week, and it may become warmer too, although there could be some cooler weather around at first. I'll leave you with that for now, but just a reminder that we're kept free of charge by you. Keep on coming back and using the site and using the charts. It means we can put more adverts in front of you, and that's what generates the revenue that keeps us free of charge. So thank you for doing that. Please tell your friends about weatherweb.net, and whatever you're doing, have a great day and keep the sun shining. Bye for now.